Hey guys, we are back and I'm back with Gracie, who is automatically a true crime expert because she is from Washington State. And what is Washington State known for?
Serial killers and coffee.
Exactly. So if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like and comment. If you are listening on a podcast, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. So we are going to talk about Gracie's new favorite case, Lost Boy Larry. Have you ever heard of Lost Boy Larry?
Yes.
I know you have. So this case is probably going to be a short one. There's not a whole lot of information, but the entire thing is just, it's pretty crazy.
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre. So what ends up happening is on August 7th of 1973, a woman in California calls New Mexico authorities and tells them that she has been in contact with basically a hysterical child over CB radio. So just to add some information, if you don't know or don't know a lot like I did not know anything. So CB radios allow for communication within about a 20-mile radius. You'll see them a lot used with like long-haul truckers to communicate with other truckers. You generally use a handle and not your name. And I did find out that these CB radio communications can be traced. They can be traced as far as GPS location, and that's in today's day. I don't know if that's true for 1973. But for them to be traced basically from, and again, this is just from a brief Google search. If you have better information, please leave me a comment. I would love to hear about it. So basically for these CB radio handles or the people using the CB radios to be traced by GPS, again, it's not linked to any name. You can go on and choose your handle and it's not connected to your actual identity at all, but it can be traced by GPS to your actual location. But for it to be traced, basically you have to do something really bad for the Federal Communication Commission to come look for you. So again, not really sure if it's a thing that you can track that in 1973, but let's jump in. So on August 7th of 1973, Darlene Ross is playing with her CB radio, and she comes across a transmission of a little boy who is just, hysterical. He's crying, he's upset, he's saying, "Help me, please help me." It's about 6:30, and what she ends up doing is she ends up talking to him, trying to get him to calm down, to tell her what's wrong, what's going on, anything she can think of at that point, because again, this sounds like a young child. And if you know anything about young children, sometimes the end of the world for them is the wrong color cup. Like it is what it is. But what this child ends up telling her is that he has been in a wreck with his father and that his dad is dead. So his dad has died in this wreck and there's no one around basically. So he is trying to get help. He doesn't really know how to use this radio. Eventually Ross ends up getting him to relay his name. His name is Larry. He is in New Mexico, and again, he has been in a wreck with his dad and his dad has died. Ironically, or by a stroke of luck, Ross actually used to live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So she calls authorities there and tells them what's going on. She also calls the Albuquerque Journal to let them know what's going on, which is a little strange to me. So by the next day, this story is out. Everybody is looking for Larry, trying to figure out who Larry is, where he is, trying to help this little boy. The next day on August 8th, more reports of Larry are coming in. Now the strange thing about this is his signal from this CB radio, again, CB radios today are good for about a 20-mile radius. His signal is getting picked up in California by Ross, as far east as Mississippi, and in Canada. So it's stretching. Now there is a thing called ionospheric skip, which basically is where the radio waves go out, they're refracted back, and they can hit longer distances and be clear. So there is potential for this just to be a fluke that it got picked up so broadly. Now, there are search and rescue teams getting ready to go out in New Mexico. There are actually people manning like monitoring stations, just trying to get him on a station and talk to him to try and figure out where he is and help him. At one of these manned monitoring stations, Linda King would actually get Larry to reveal a little bit more. She would get him to reveal that he was 6 years old and he didn't really know how to use the CB radio. So he was kind of skipping from channel to channel. So people were getting him on one channel and then later maybe on another. He also was heard saying, "Come on, David, help me."
Who's David?
Exactly. Nobody knows who David is. He also, concerningly enough, told Linda King that he had no food or water. And again, this is August in New Mexico.
It's hot.
It's hot.
Very hot.
And you can only go 3 days without water. And that's in like decent conditions. That's not in conditions where you're going to sweat excessively like if you were trapped in a truck. So things are getting a little bit more dire for Larry. 3 separate search groups are going out. You've got New Mexico State Police. You have the Civil Air Patrol, which is a part of the Air Force, and Albuquerque Citizens Radio Association is actually joining the search. And people as far as Colorado, they're setting up monitored stations as well to try and talk to Larry, to try and figure out where he is.
It's crazy.
So Larry is 6, again, I want to reiterate that, because there's speculation that he could not or would not tell them his last name, whether he didn't know it or wouldn't reveal it. I don't know. I mean, he had been through something traumatic. As an adult, when you experience something traumatic, sometimes you just can't think. Your mind just goes blank. So, I mean, maybe. The other thing was Larry didn't really know where he was. Okay? So he says he's in New Mexico, but he doesn't know where. He doesn't know any of the towns they passed through. He doesn't know anything like that. Which is iffy, because I feel like, and I've talked about this before, I'm from Alabama. So like when I was younger, everything was in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to the beach. We're going to Panama City. It's in Alabama. Like, I mean, everything is in the state. So could he potentially not be in New Mexico, but he's from New Mexico? Like, there's just, 6-year-olds are not great at geography, is where it goes.
I'm not either.
I mean, I feel you. Same. So they have planes searching for Larry. They have people searching on the ground. They have these monitoring stations set up. As the days are going on, his signal is getting weaker. So he is getting harder and harder to hear, to find. And because, again, Ross in California called the Albuquerque Journal, this has been a major story. It's made national news. So you have a lot of people who do crazy and sick things. You have people who are pretending to be Larry on CB radio and kids with walkie-talkies. One little boy actually comes on and says his name is David and that he needs help. He's in a red truck that has overturned with a white camper and his father is dead. It was later determined to be a little boy with a walkie-talkie who had heard the story of Larry and was playing around.
That's sick.
And again, this is a child, so I'm sure he was just
Thinking it was funny.
But there are adults that did stuff like this too, which is what's sick, because they're taking away resources and time from this child who potentially needs help. So one of the people with the Civil Air Patrol doing searches asks Larry if he can see the sun, and Larry tells them, no, it's raining. So looking at the forecast, they realize that it is raining at 4th of July Canyon in New Mexico. So that is where they start searching. And a little bit later, they decide, okay, we're going to tell him to basically scream into his mic, get attention if you see lights overhead from the helicopters that are looking for you, which is kind of genius. Like,
Smart.
yeah, like narrow down the area that way. And Larry does just that. He says that he sees the landing gear and he yells out. So when he did, they were over Chilili. Y'all know I messed that up.
Yeah?
Yeah, Chilili, New Mexico. And again, sorry if I butchered that. I'm from Alabama. I can't help it. But the issue with that is, again, remember, he said it was raining. The only place it's raining in New Mexico at the time is 4th of July Canyon. 4th of July Canyon. Do you want to know how far away that is from Chilili? 3 hours. So there's some distance there, which is kind of not adding up. So the search continues, and it goes on until August 12th. And again, this all started on August 7th. So it's been days. It's been days. And again, supposedly this child has no food or water, and it is New Mexico. So on the 12th, communication stops, and it's believed that the CB radio died. The battery died, so he was no longer able to communicate.
Where was he?
Well, here's the thing.
Like, how could no one see him?
Here's where Lost Boy Larry gets even more interesting. There's a theory that Lost Boy Larry was just a hoax. It was somebody pulling a prank from the start. There was never a little boy named Larry. He was never lost. He was never, in a wreck. And to support that theory, over the years, a child and a man have never been reported missing that fit the description and the time frame that Larry claims, that this wreck happened. So was there ever a Lost Boy Larry? And then because I love true crime, then I automatically go to, okay, what if, because we're just going to throw out Occam's razor.
What if he was kidnapped and then kidnapped again?
That. Okay, what if this child, that's not his actual dad, that's his kidnapper, or they're undocumented? What if they're undocumented, so nobody in the U.S. is looking for them? But at the same time, you would think eventually, okay.
Somebody would say something.
Well, I'm going to spiral for a second, okay?
Okay.
Somebody's going to find the car. Somebody's going to find the car, right? But then I think, no, because you yourself love watching the YouTube videos about the cars that are found 30 years later in lakes. And people have been missing for decades, and they just didn't find the cars.
So what if someone,
Right.
into the lake?
Do I think Lost Boy Larry was real?
I do.
And you do? You
I
think
do.
it was real?
Yeah.
On the one hand, I kind of hope he wasn't.
Yeah.
Because that would be, there's no way he survived that without water. And that would be a horrible way to die. Next to your dead father, not knowing where you are, being able to talk to people and tell them you need help, and them not be able to find you.
I can't even imagine.
So on the one hand, I hope it's a hoax. I don't know what I believe, honestly. I guess I hope it was a hoax. I think it was a hoax. We're going to say it was a hoax.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what you think down below.